I love you. Have a good day. This life's been kind to me, and I've got to change. To stop taking it for granted. I should have looked at this view more. I'll do that from now on. Take this elevator. So much work went into this, and I never even thought about it before now. Thousands of hours of people's lives were dedicated to making this box on wire. I just assume it will always work. Only pay attention when something goes wrong. Assumptions, patterns. I've got to pay more attention. I'm going to tell him how I feel. I don't feel like I chose to be here, but it is a good place. Some routine is good, sure. Other patterns, they're just habits with no meaning. I can't believe how lucky I've been, and I took it for granted. I've let myself lose track of what I want after everything we've been through. It's time to take control. I always smile when I see that place. Maybe we'll go there tonight. Maybe we'll go feed the ducks this weekend. I love the way they walk. I'm happy with him. I have to be sure he knows that. Patterns. Every day the same start. Harry never wakes up from my alarm. This isn't what I imagined or wanted. Drifting through one day after another. Together but not aware. Something like that. I feel like I've barely glanced at this picture for years. I love it as much as when I first saw it. This t-shirt is Harry's favourite on me. I reread the same books time and again. It's comforting, I guess. I'm grateful for everything we have, but probably not as much as I should be. It would be easy to think I wasn't happy. I am, I think. I mustn't let it slide away. Even here I get into patterns. Bathroom first, then kitchen for breakfast. Maybe I should change that. Changing the routine. I'm so rock and roll. Tea. A man takes the lead, Grandma would tell me. I guess I need to step up to the line. I've got a great thing here. I don't think she meant this, but she's right. I should take the lead. I should ask Harry to marry me. I want to be his husband. I'm not sure Grandma would approve. She's come a long way. It's hard to tell with her.
Naturally, as Will's grandmother, I knew Will since the first day he was born, of course. I will never forget that first moment in the hospital, when James, that's Will's father, handed me my grandson for the first time. He wriggled in his blue blanket, already a strong boy. James liked that punk thing in the 1980s and looked a terrible mess to me. He ran 3 pubs in London for those sort of people. I would go over to babysit as often as I could. A child needs someone normal in their life. It's good for a young boy to be outdoors, but Will never really liked that when he was young. James and Sharon would always be putting on some awful music, if you can call it that. Not my cup of tea at all. I turned it off first thing whenever I was babysitting. Sharon was an art teacher. She always had her nose in a magazine full of pictures. It's not the way to inspire a young man to a career, if you ask me. James liked such strange books, full of horrible things. I remember him telling me about one with rats everywhere. I really don't see the appeal. Will's mother is an American, Sharon. They met through James's pubs. She took Will away to America for 3 years when she and James split up. They got back together again, though. Will's birth wasn't very easy, but he got here. He was never going to have brothers or sisters after, though. I loved Will. I always just wanted him to have the best possible start and to be successful. I suppose I sound awful, saying his parents were doing everything wrong. I remember that evening. Will had been quieter than usual. He had got into a fight at school. It started because a boy had been picking on a girl, calling her names because of her dark skin. Will told the boy to stop, and he was punched in the stomach. I asked him if he had cried, and he said yes. I told him that big boys don't cry. I remember him asking me then, what do big boys do when they're sad? When he was grown up, I told him he would be a good man. He would be able to stand up to others. He had done the right thing, I told him, even though it hurt him that time. Looking back, I don't think he seemed very comforted. Will tripped over his toy van when he was going to bed. I remember carrying him. He was trying so hard not to cry. He was so small in my arms. I've never forgotten that feeling. It's funny the things that you remember. A mix of small things, making up a lifetime. I took him to bed to read him a story. Sharon kept on buying him books of ghost stories. He always wanted me to read him those, but he never slept properly after, I think. He would never settle properly until I had checked the room for ghosts. I made sure he could see me looking carefully. I remember promising him, while I looked, that I would always protect him. I would always be there for him. I'm sure he thought I just meant about ghosts, but I meant it for everything. I always remember that feeling. I wonder if I knew his life wouldn't be easy. I was reading Grimm's fairy tales to him. I liked those much more than the new versions that they kept on coming out with back then. That night was a strange story called The Ungrateful Son. It went something like this. Once upon a time, a man and his wife were eating a roast chicken for dinner. When the man saw his father, a very old man, walking along the road towards them, the man didn't want to share, and so he hid the chicken out of sight. The man's father arrived, bid them good day, and continued on his way. The man was happy with himself and told his wife to get the chicken and put it on the table again. But the chicken had transformed into a giant toad, which leapt onto the face of the man. The toad would never leave, and when his wife wanted to help, she was so afraid of it that she dared not go near. The man had to feed the toad every day from then on, or it would bite his face, and he never rested for the remainder of his life. That was a very strange story. Will was asleep before I finished it, which was probably a good thing. I felt strange after reading it. I wondered about whether I really could keep him safe. I didn't know where life was going to take him. I was his grandmother, and I hoped I would help him be a good man. I could still see him sleeping there now, like it was only yesterday. I had raised James, so I thought I would be ready for anything from my grandson Will. But I wasn't daft enough to think that it would be easy. The world changes so fast. I remember the family visiting me when Will was a teenager. Did you ever hear the song Here in My Heart? That was playing when Robert first kissed me. Al Martino had a beautiful voice. They don't sing like that anymore. Such a shame. We've family over in New Zealand. I went to visit them after James had grown up. We still write letters to each other, at Christmas, you know. It's important to stay in touch with your family, even when we're so spread out. I like to go down to Brighton, to the seaside, and I would buy a new glass animal every time I went there, collecting them. Everyone should have a hobby, I think. My husband Robert was a writer, like Will. I think they would have loved talking. Maybe Will's interest would have inspired Robert to push a bit harder in his work. Back then, Diana had just done that interview, and so we were all waiting for the divorce. There was no way we thought that they could stay together. Sometimes people treat us old people like we have nothing to say, so I started the conversation.
I think it's sad. She was bullied into all of this from the beginning.
The conversation didn't go well from there. I got very frustrated with him. Sharon sat there, not saying anything, which was worse than her joining in, but I could imagine her American take on the whole thing. James didn't help. He has always been so obtuse in his views. I wish I hadn't even tried. They didn't want to hear my views. I said that I was going to make some tea. No one offered to help. I didn't really want tea. I don't think they wanted it either. But I needed to do something. I suppose all this seems like a strange thing to remember. But it was a sad day for me. James and Sharon both held their own views. I knew that. But Will... We didn't have all these choices. And we all turned out well enough. It's easier to be different now, but all he could see was the need of one person, at the risk to everything else. It's not good to stick out like a sore thumb. You have to fit in. I was scared for him. He had all these views about things, and it was dangerous. I was so scared that Will was going to go off half-cocked and make a mess of his life. I stood there, waiting for the tea to brew. And I cried. He was so headstrong, and he was going to make mistakes. I knew it. I couldn't change his mind. I knew something had been broken that day between Will and I. I took a deep breath and pulled myself together. It doesn't help anything to let others see you get upset. I've lived alone since a little time after Will was born. That was when Robert passed away. I missed him, of course. Yet it was tolerable until then. But then, after we disagreed, I felt so distant from them all. It was terrible. My generation has different values. Oh, goodness, I know that. But I very much believe that they are good. I wasn't prepared to accept that Will wasn't going to talk to me anymore. You can't accept it, really. when you see someone you love putting their future at risk. All these free ideas about people choosing their own way to live. He would understand later. But how much later? But before he changed, what damage would he do to his options? It's a lot of work making a house look welcoming, but it was good to be busy. I felt uneasy about that Christmas. We would be together all day. I kept in touch with a lot of friends. We didn't have email, of course, but even now they just aren't as good as a real letter. Will went off to university, but I clearly remember the Christmas that he and the family came home. I'd been told that Will was going to bring a girlfriend, Sarah. It was important to make a good impression. My family arrived just as the Christmas lunch was ready. It was perfect timing. When Sharon took Will to America, he was only 10. Like most boys, he wasn't much of a letter writer. She took him away from us for 3 years, and I barely saw him. James is like his father, really. A wonderful boy. But I do wish he would apply himself more. Sarah was lovely, of course. She was a bit shy back then, I think. We talked about her university courses. She really had no reason to be nervous. Will and I hadn't spoken for months. I didn't know if he understood that when we disagreed, it was only because I cared so much about him. Will was a perfect gentleman. He had such fine manners.
Thanks.
It filled me with pride and hope to see him that day. He was becoming the man I had hoped he would be. With Sarah, I hoped he would be on track to a normal life. But that was the last time I saw her. The next summer, I went to visit Will at university. It's only civil to arrive on time for your appointments, so I started the drive down to see him with plenty of time to spare. I ended up being rather early, and it was my first visit to the campus, so I went for a walk. The old buildings there are lovely. There were so many young people there, all full of life and excited about the future. Lots of beautiful girls around, and I was hoping I might spot Sarah. University wasn't a normal option for people in my time, and I never went. A solid education helps to improve a person. I noticed Will from a distance. I've always thought he stood out in a crowd. At first, I couldn't see what he was doing. Then I saw that he was holding hands with a man. And then, right out in front of everyone, they kissed. He went and did that after everything I had tried to teach him. I knew that all those liberal views would get him in trouble. I left right away. I couldn't think of a single thing I could say to him. Will didn't see me. What was I supposed to do? Act like everything was going to be okay for him? He was so young. He didn't see the trouble he could get into if he kept doing that sort of thing. The university suddenly seemed like an ugly place to me. All that entitlement and sense of smugness. It was full of children running around abusing the freedom that my generation worked hard to earn for them. I wanted to be civil, but I was so angry with him, with them all. He was putting himself in danger. That sort of thing. It all just feels wrong to me. Sorry, but that's just the way I feel about this. I barely saw Will for the next few years. I couldn't bring myself to talk to him. I suppose it was silly of me. He had gone travelling after university, and I stayed at my house. Being alone in a house by yourself. I said my husband Robert died when Will was young, didn't I? Being alone can make you live in the past. You watch the world change without you. I had all these hopes for who Will would be when he was a grown man. I remember so clearly before he changed, when he was just a happy little boy. He probably never really understood how much I loved him when he was growing up. But life goes on. I was in the garden. Things do have a habit of getting overgrown if you leave them too long. Will had been travelling the world. I would very occasionally get a postcard from somewhere foreign. This was before he went into the travel journalism. I worried about him so much. He never seemed to want to settle back then. I don't know if he was happy. Everything had to be changing all the time for him. Just as I was finishing weeding, the doorbell rang. I was going to answer it, but snagged my foot in the grass and twisted my ankle. It hurt like blazes, and I lay there feeling like a complete fool. There was nothing I could do. I tried to move, but it hurt too much. I called out for help. I heard footsteps around the side of the house. It was Will, coming to visit me. He'd come back from travelling. I had been so cold to him, never reaching out, but that didn't matter to him.
It's okay.
He looked after me anyway. Inside the man he was, I could see for the first time the same kind boy I knew before. I don't claim that I'll understand some of his choices.
Let's get you inside.
But inside, he really always had been the man that I wanted him to be. Kind and strong. I'd missed that, blinded by only one part of him. He was still everything I could have hoped for. He was even kind to a fool like me. I'll never forget that.
Grandma is from a different generation. She loves me, I know that. She just expresses herself really badly sometimes. She's trying hard, though. I should call her later. She kept on telling me what a real man should be like. That's not me. But I think I'm okay. I'm the man I grew up to be, and now I'm thinking about marrying Harry. But Harry just wants this normal life, these patterns. He built this life for us. I went off and traveled, and he made all this happen. I guess I better get a move on. Love is a strange thing. Totally personal, but shared by everyone too. I remember I loved Sarah when I was with her at uni. Love ends. All these little things, just meaningless stuff every day, whittling away at how we feel. I don't deserve Harry.
My first day at university. My parents drove me in a car stuffed full of everything I owned. I'd been a bit nervous all day, but I felt full-on terrified when we got to the student village. I was faking a look of confidence. I doubt anyone noticed. Probably everyone else was too. Paul, my mum's boyfriend, always liked Will. It seemed like I had an enormous amount of stuff. I think Mum or Paul must have picked up the keys from somewhere. Weird that I don't remember how we got them now. I went up first. Walking into my dorm room for the first time, I could only think about my own nerves. It's one of those things that we do sometimes. We forget about the feelings of others. Yes, I was scared about it all, but how did Mum and Paul feel? After unloading the car, they were about to drive away to an empty home for the first time in 18 years. Maybe it was a scarier day for them than for me. I was unloading in a dream. I had a room that was all my own. It seemed unreal. Cheap carpet and a thin mattress. It didn't matter. It was my space. You remember how that felt? Having control for the first time. I felt terrified, but excited too. Though mostly just lost. I didn't realise everyone felt the same. Of course, I was thinking a bit about dating. Everyone there was, I think. We all probably felt like we weren't... I don't know. There's that thing at 18 when you are acting more than being. We all feel like everyone else has the secret of confidence. I felt average, but I wasn't. None of us are, really. Wait, no, cute is the right word. I wasn't really thinking about sexy back then. I felt so adult, but I had so much growing up to do. It's funny to think back, like this, now. I didn't notice Will again for a couple of weeks. If I'm honest, I'd forgotten about him while I got set up in my new home, though he must have been in the lectures. So anyway, I next noticed him through the window of the Union Bar. I recognised him then from the first day, and I remembered liking how he'd look back at me then. The Union usually played the dancey stuff. Higher State of Consciousness was still on heavy rotation, but sometimes they played the better stuff. Blur, Pulp, a bit older stuff like In Spiral Carpets, but not often. It was a typical Friday, crowded with the windows dripping with condensation, cheap spilled drinks making the floor sticky. I guess I set my sights on him that night. I was determined to at least talk to him. It's not easy to find someone when you're not so tall and the lights are low. Spotting Will in the crowd was hard. I think I was changing fast. It'd only been a couple of weeks since I got to uni, but I felt very different. Will always gave me a good vibe. I know that sounds weird, but there it is. He just felt like a good person. He was too. I joined in whatever the conversation was that Will was having. I've no idea what we talked about. I don't think there was any doubt about my intentions. We had a few drinks and I remember pulling him outside. I love that tingle when you hope something is going to happen, when you know you're going to try something nice. The cold night air hit me and I felt a little dizzy. And that was when he first kissed me. Our first proper date was to the cinema. We sat at the back, kind of a cliché really. There's that pressure for back row liaisons, you know? We sat there fidgeting, wanting to touch but scared to. I shifted to rest my leg against his. It was awkward and definitely not the natural and subtle thing I was going for. I kept looking sideways to see if he was looking at me, but tried not to move my head too much in case he wasn't looking and noticed that I was. I wanted to hold his hand, but he seemed to shy away. Or maybe he didn't intend that. We ignored the film, pretty much. It was that silly action one, with that guy who always acts crazy, thingamy. It was like everything else faded out. I finally made an actual move and put my hand on his leg. I felt so relieved when he smiled at me. His hand was warm and dry, and his skin soft. He gently held the side of my face, turning me towards him. He closed his eyes and kissed me, placing his lips softly onto mine. We sat with our fingers locked together for the rest of the film, and when it was over we walked out, still holding hands. As we were going though, I had this weird prescient feeling. I could feel I was falling in love fast for the first time, but it was so strong, it would end. Will always gave the impression of confidence, like he always had a grand plan. I wish I knew if he saw that end coming too. Like I felt it was. I don't know if that would have made how it went any easier. I'd been putting off unpacking all of my boxes, but the next day I finally got round to it. I got out the essentials, of course, but I hadn't felt very motivated to do the rest. My mum gave me a tasselled cloth scarf to remind me of home. She's a right hippie. I'd packed loads of my old books. Nothing really related to uni, I just liked having them nearby. I put candles out. I think I thought I'd need to do romantic lighting. I had arranged to see Will later in the week. I was really falling for him. Is it weird to tell you this? I brought my first ever toy to uni with me. I know it seems weird for a woman to do that, but it brings back happy memories. It wasn't always easy with my biological dad leaving, but Mum and I, and my brother Andy, we had fun. My bunny makes me remember that. I kept on changing my mind. It shouldn't have mattered so much, but I wanted the place to look nice. It's weird how long you think about such small things. The little choices are important. I guess it didn't make any difference really, but I was happy when I was sure I'd got it right. I wanted to feel comfortable when Will came over. Will and I, it felt like a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing, and just as likely to burn us both as to make us happy. But what a lovely way to burn. That Christmas, I met Will's family. We'd been together for 4 months. Do you remember me there? I was so worried I was going to say something and embarrass myself. I was much more shy back then, and I was really in love with Will, and I wanted to make sure I didn't mess anything up. We were still at that stage where you constantly want to touch the other person. I loved that, but I didn't reach out with his family all there. I got nice shivers when he touched me as he poured my wine. Oh, thanks. It was a really nice meal, and we all got on okay. I think I looked a bit too grungy for the occasion. I felt really self-conscious. I loved him so much, but that feeling I had wouldn't go away, that it was all going to end. That Christmas Day, though, I felt like we had a chance. Things were going well, but over the months, I felt the relationship changing. We would cuddle up in bed and watch TV or movies. There was a transgender character on Coronation Street. We talked about that for a long time. I'd never had to think about my sexuality much. I'm straight, and as far as I knew, my friends up until that time all had been too. I just accepted Will for who he was, regardless of his sexuality. It's funny to tell you this now, but I was never jealous of Harry. You'd think I would be, but I loved Will so much. I just wanted him to be happy. The longer we dated, the more we stayed in. We had a few friends that we'd go out for drinks with, and Harry, but Will and me spent most of our time together. Those memories will always be a warm place for me. Will and me were studying English. Harry was on the course too. I'd seen the way Harry and Will looked at each other. There was a spark there. I know some people would feel jealous, but I don't know. Being around Harry made Will happy. I'll never forget that time, seeing their friendship grow. We would listen to music as we fell asleep. Most of my music was on CD, but I also had a tape recording I'd made of a Billie Holiday record, scratches and all. Vinyl had that warm sound you don't get now. Wonderful as we drifted off. Then the tape mechanism would click at the end and wake me up. We listened to a lot of Portishead. Even now when I listen to them, I remember being back in that room, in his arms. I could feel the end of it all shaping up. But we had good times anyway. We were in love, but lonely too. It felt like we were the only people in the world. Maybe I didn't mind Will getting closer to Harry because it felt like our own love was too much for two people. It might seem odd to you, but it was my suggestion. I told Will to ask out Harry. I loved him. I knew it would make us all happy for Will to have Harry in his life. It was something he needed to do. I feel lucky. How many times in your life will you be sure you've helped a person find their true love? Though it was rough. For a long time, I wished that true love had been me. Let me paint a picture for you of the end. Will had been seeing both me and Harry at the same time for about 6 months. I can see you think that sounds weird, but it really wasn't. We were all open, safe, and honest about it. The picture. It was in the basement of the Royal Oak in October. You could still smoke in pubs back then, and the faint smell was always there. The tables were dark, heavy wood. The stone floor smelled slightly of disinfectant. The seats were covered with tapestry fabric that was worn and faded. I knew what I was going to say to Will. I had a friend before uni who was having boyfriend problems and asked me what love is. I told her that love was being able to tell a person that you never wanted to see them again. Even though it broke your heart to do it, you would tell them to leave you because it was right. I was quite happy with that answer, like love was something from a Shakespearean tragedy. I hadn't been in love when I said it. I didn't expect to have to do it. I didn't expect to be right. We need to talk.
Oh?
This needs to change.
You mean us?
I feel like I'm getting in your way.
You're not. This is good.
It is good. Good enough.
Are you happy with me?
I'm happy with you. I love you, but this isn't about me.
I love you too. I want to be with you.
I know. But that doesn't mean you should be.
Is this it? Can I do anything differently?
No, you've not done anything wrong.
I don't want this.
Me either. But it's right.
I love you.
I love you too. I was so in love. I can't tell you how much it hurt to let him go. I never forgot him. Love doesn't just stop. I still carry those memories of our time together with me, like a polished stone in my pocket. It feels so real, like I can really hold it in my hands. I cherish the memory of that time we had. I've never loved anyone like that again. It took me 2 years to get over Will. I saw him falling deeper and deeper in love with Harry. Maybe we all could have kept on dating together the way we were. I didn't think of that as an option at the time. I threw myself into my studies to try to forget. I graduated with first-class honours, so I guess it worked out well. I still have that love with me, and the loneliness passed eventually. I started a date, and in the end, I fell in love again. A different kind of love, but wonderful too. But I don't think two loves are ever the same. That's the way it's supposed to be, I think.
Sarah and I still meet up. It took a few years before that was comfortable. I still love her. I'm not sure she realizes how much, but not the way I did back then. The things that we've been through, they lead us to the present. The people we've loved shape who we are now. I wouldn't be here now without her. I've got to remember to appreciate this time more. All the tiny moments make up our lives. I've lost some of the wide-angle view of my life. I want our lives to work, Harry and I. I can't believe I'm thinking about proposing to Harry while spraying my armpits. I'm such a smooth operator. Sure, we're in patterns, but that's not bad. I love him. That's wonderful enough without every day being action-packed. And there are bigger adventures beyond marriage. We could start a family. Kids. Wow. That could be good, actually. Maybe I'll leave that conversation to another day, eh? One thing at a time. Oh, I could propose and he says no. Am I going too fast? I think Harry wants a family. We'll talk about it. I think it would be good. This is going to be a big day. Keys? First step of a long journey. It's going to be wonderful. I love you. Have a good day. This life's been kind to me, and I've got to change. To stop taking it for granted. I should have looked at this view more. I'll do that from now on. Take this elevator. So much work went into this, and I never even thought about it before now. Thousands of hours of people's lives were dedicated to making this box on wire. I just assume it will always work. Only pay attention when something goes wrong. Assumptions, patterns. I've got to pay more attention. I'm going to tell him how I feel. I don't feel like I chose to be here, but it is a good place. Some routine is good, sure. Other patterns, they're just habits with no meaning. I can't believe how lucky I've been, and I took it for granted. I've let myself lose track of what I want after everything we've been through. It's time to take control. I always smile when I see that place. Maybe we'll go there tonight. Maybe we'll go feed the ducks this weekend. I love the way they walk. I'm happy with him. I have to be sure he knows that.
We didn't always get much of a chance to see each other during the weekdays. He worked really hard. He loved his job. On Sundays, we would go to the park to feed the ducks. That was in the end of the summer, but it was beautiful in the winter too. It was away from everything else. It was our place to be together. This whole place makes me think of him. He would quack at the ducks. He pretended to have conversations with them and that we saw the same ones every week. He began to set up little stories between them. And then one day, he was gone. I don't know yet whose fault the crash was, but he was driving. He was alive in the ambulance. But they say he never woke up. I think I prefer it that way. He was dead by the time I got to the hospital. Everything here reminds me of him. I need to clear it all away. Such a small thing. A week after the crash, I was calm. Then I saw his toothbrush and knew I had to throw it away. And wept. Collapsed on the floor of the bathroom. He loved to travel. I'm more of the staying home type, but I liked how happy it made him to see new places. Sometimes he would read to me at night. I would lie with my eyes closed, just listening to the sound of his voice, feeling my breathing slow, knowing he was beside me. When friends come to visit me, they speak to me in a quiet voice, as if a loud sound might startle me. They ask about the missing objects. I say, I'm going for a minimalist look. They nod and give me a strange smile, but I know they don't believe me. They know the reminders hurt too much. I've been walking more since he died. I've been trying to get away from the memories to find something new, but everywhere I go, I see things that make me think of him. The car was barely damaged in the accident. It was just a knock. Twisting his neck the wrong way, the insurers asked if I wanted to repair the car. But I couldn't speak to answer. When you have a table for one, do they remove the other seat? Or just leave it there? His Singing in the Rain impersonation was wonderfully dreadful. I never worked out if he was trying to be bad at it, or if it was a natural lack of talent. I decided to stay inside more. Keep to the inside. I can control what's in here. But even at work, there are reminders. I need this space to be clear, so I can be free. How are we supposed to go on in their absence? He'd want me to be happy, but I can't be. Not living like this. Everything has to go. I'll clear it all away and start again. I know what they mean by heartbroken now. I feel like something is crying in my chest, making me feel only cold inside. I'm nearly there. It's all gone. He's gone. But he's not. I can't get rid of him. Why won't he leave me alone? I'm different now. He changed me. I feel the space he's left inside me. But it's okay. It's his shape. That's going to be part of me that I carry forever. Denying that would be killing him again. living on after this. I'll hold on to the love and the memories. I'm going to read every one of his books. He would laugh at me now, crying over silly things, and hug me too, and hold me. I wish he could hold me again. I don't know if this world is all there is, but the time with him meant something. It was special to me. That time will never happen again.
I'll never forget him. He reached out to me when I had pushed him away. Once I looked after him, but that day he looked after me. He often visited over the years. I saw things with him that I would never have dreamed of as a child.
Okay, so this is the mouse. Yeah, so you can use this to click on things. Yeah, this bit's called
The world was changing, and he was changing, becoming more mature. And then you came to see me. And then you told me what had happened.
It's one of those strange things. I had just been thinking about Will. We met up again when he started doing travel writing for that agency in London. I was surprised at how good it felt to see him again. We'd hang out now and then. He always talked about his family, life, and about you both. He told me how happy he was. And then you called me. Hello? He was happy at the end.
He loved you both so much. I still keep on thinking I'll see him again, or that he's walking beside me just in the corner of my eye. It's silly, really. I couldn't understand how life could be so cruel, taking him away. But life wasn't cruel. Life gave him to us to begin with, even with so few moments. We could love him. We always will. After we had talked, I went back to the park, to the place where Will and I had spent so much time together. I had so many more fragments of his life that I had never known. I felt a kind of peace. It helped, talking with others. Will was gone, but I wasn't alone. They carry him with them too. I just needed to let myself see that. I still miss him, but day by day that gets easier. It gets easier to remember the good times and be grateful. I still miss him, but it's enough that, briefly, we walk together.
I feel like I should try to break patterns. I usually use the bathroom first. Yeah, let's not get carried away with changing everything. Only change if it makes sense. I need to get my head in the game. I need to stop running and see what's great right here. Marriage. I should ask Harry to marry me. I want to be his husband. When I was at uni, I loved Sarah, but I didn't feel this way. I loved her, do love her, but not how I feel about Harry.